What's up, guys and gals? We're going to be joining Luckee here on Truth Frequency News. Figured we'd loop you all in, get everybody to hang out with us. I don't know what we're going to talk about. May talk about Egypt again, or may get into politics. So just a heads up warning on that. This was all done kind of last minute, but Lucky's a good friend. Looking forward to it.
We highlight how events of today affect the future, present, and past. We also show you how the subjects we dwell on receive our energy from our thoughts, emotions, and discussions. We focus on love, life, truth, and the sciences pertaining to that. And now, listen closely because we are real and we are live. Good evening, everybody. We are indeed real and live. This is Lucky One, and you're listening to Quantum Connections here on TFRLive.com. It is the 10th of October, 2018, and right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and do my normal metals report. It is gold price is $1,190.40. Silver price is $14.45. Bitcoin is at $6,512.95. The euro is at $1.15. So those of you who are interested in that, that is amazing changes, and I see a lot of fluctuations going to be happening soon. So if you're into Bitcoin, get in it. If you're into gold, which I recommend, get that. Silver if you can't afford the gold. Now, breaking news today, if you've been watching the weather for this planet, you probably have seen all the storms. It looks like an interactive strand of pearls around the earth. So everybody, please be careful out there. The Florida Panhandle, brace yourselves. Actually, Georgia, now you guys need to brace yourselves. Hurricane Michael is bearing down on you now. So please, everybody, be careful. Now, I do have a surprise today. Surprise guest. I think he's here. You there?
Lucky, how you doing?
There you are. Hello, Chris. I just wanted to surprise everybody in the chat room.
Well,
I'm so glad you joined me.
Yeah, thank you for having us on last minute. The little twin is still getting ready. So she'll be joining us here in just a few minutes. But I went ahead and looped in our people over at Facebook and YouTube too. So we've got a little bit of a bigger audience today, and or a little bit of a different audience today. So
no pressure there.
Where are you gonna take us?
Well, first thing I wanted to talk about, because I know I sound subdued a bit today. I almost got in a wreck today. It was really bad. I almost got killed. It was pretty rough.
Oh, I know you were telling me about that. What happened?
Yeah. Well, let's see. I was pulling out. I exited a highway, and I was at the red light, of course, waiting. And I look up, and the green light's there, and I hesitated for just a second, to make sure if there's any, last minute people going to fly through, let them fly through. Anyway, so I'm proceeding through the light, and this guy, suddenly I hear these brakes squealing, screeching. This guy left a track about 20 feet, 25 feet, and he missed me by just a few feet. He almost T-boned me, and I was so shocked.
So how are you feeling now?
Still shaking.
Yeah. Now imagine this. What if in another timeline you actually hit the car and you died? And then what happened is you came back to that moment before and started replaying the level of the game again.
Right.
Something to think about.
Because for some reason I just hesitated at that green light. That was a safe point.
So are you having any deja vu today? Like what's today? Wednesday? Like, are you feeling all day like it should be Thursday?
No, it felt like it should be Monday.
I felt like it should be Monday. That's even more interesting. Because we had a similar situation happen to us a couple of months ago where a deer came running out, and it was like a huge, beautiful buck. I mean, had we hit it, it would have been like a trophy buck, but I've never hunted before. I haven't killed anything more than like a fish. So, I couldn't imagine, but it was a big, beautiful buck. And he just appeared out of nowhere in the middle of the night and came about 6 to 12 inches away from the car. I mean, it was so close. Wow. And all day that day, it was a Wednesday. All day that day, I thought it was Thursday. And I'm like, something is weird here. So we started thinking about it and asking ourselves, could it be that we actually were feeling like it was a Thursday? Because in the previous attempt, we had died at that place. And so the day was reset back another day, and at least for us in our reality. And we proceeded to move on through the game again like that.
Ooh, that is interesting. That is interesting, but it did seem surreal today because it was all overcast today, so you couldn't see the progression of the sun throughout the day, you
Hmm.
know? Yeah. Um, let's see, as far as business, there was zero business, practically zero business. And so it was very weird.
Kind
Yes,
of
there was
different.
cheesecake. There was cheesecake today at the shop. You don't get cheesecake at the shop, not especially the good stuff. I mean, this stuff was
Maybe this is
good
the
stuff,
afterlife.
man.
Maybe this is the beginning of the
Oh
afterlife. You know, I've
no.
had a theory that
Go
Nibiru
ahead.
came back in 2012 and that we're all
Uh-huh.
dead. But things are happening different. Like, it just feels like a different reality. You've got this whole flat earth thing, which I know a lot of people don't agree with, but it just goes to show that people are seeing reality in a different way now.
Hmm.
We're harnessing our abilities to manifest reality, telepathy, all of these quote unquote 5D consciousness abilities. And I wonder if this is really the afterlife and this is just like the integration process into the afterlife. Like, you just can't be thrown into, like, the 12D afterlife type thing because your consciousness just wouldn't accept it. So when you die, you actually go into this kind of like waiting area where things get better and better and better, and you ascend a little bit more until you come to that realization, oh yeah, I remember I actually died in the physical way back then. So
Well, that sounds a bit like purgatory, doesn't it?
I've always said that this is purgatory because it's sometimes it's good, sometimes it sucks. There's the ups and the downs, but then again, you think about the concept of heaven and hell too. And what is heaven and hell? It's what you make of it. I mean, you can create your own mental torturous hell, and I've done it to myself more times than not. Or you can create a heaven for yourself, and it all comes down to your consciousness. It comes down to your mind, and it comes down to what I call thought patterns. And you can take it a step further, back to like Gnostic texts and things like that. I call it archonic attacks. The archons are these group of malevolent beings that are kind of in the background, and they really have no power. All they can do is just kind of whisper, just kind of negative thought patterns into your mind. But when they
Yes.
whisper that, they can actually affect your actual physical movements because now you're operating off of those thought patterns. And so, really, the archonic control is really only just realizing that the negative thought patterns are a symptom of that archonic control or an archonic attack. And breaking it is so easy. But, the best of us find ourselves in these negative thought loops. I mean, I have negative thought loops like all the time. I had the weirdest dreams last night. I don't know. I can't even describe this. I woke up this morning. I talked to Nick Bravo, and Nick was like, "Oh yeah, no, you're seeing something. You're seeing something through somebody else's eyes." It was like, I don't even know if I should be sharing this
Oh,
on
I
air,
get that.
but I had this
I,
dream. I had this dream last night that I was seeing through the eyes of a little girl that was being molested. And I'm
oh my
like,
God.
what the hell? It was, I looked at myself. I was this blonde little girl. I had this blonde hair, and I was in this situation, and I couldn't understand what was going on to me, what was going on with me. And the dream would not stop. It was like something like speaking to my consciousness right there at that point. And I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. And I was like trapped in this dream state. I couldn't wake up until the dream was completely over. And Nick
I
Bravo
have a
said,
question for you before you go.
"Mhm."
Yeah, before you go further. When you woke up from that dream, what did you do? Did you speak against that event?
I woke up, I had a cup of coffee, and I turned on Facebook. Nick happened to be there, and I talked to Nick about it. But see, here's what happened. I went
Mhm.
and I got a massage yesterday from a blonde
Yeah.
lady. And Nick said, you may have picked up some of her
Oh.
energy of what
Mhm.
she may have experienced as a child. And I said, "Oh man, I think you might have nailed it there." So if that's the case, then it goes to show these energy transfers, as
Mhm.
benign as they can be, it could be that much more important to not mix your energies with these certain energies, because then those energies kind of affect your consciousness. Isn't
Um,
isn't that isn't
I
that
think
bizarre?
I copy what you're saying, and the thing is, though, Chris, is that you're strong enough that you don't have to absorb it. You can see, you can understand, and have knowledge of, but don't let it be imbued in your system. What I think what was supposed to, no, not what was supposed to, but in those times when you have that hit you, especially from a victim, okay, because you're the strong one, you're supposed to intercede for them.
I hope that's not happening because I have been able to have like, and it happens only accidentally. It's not when I touch somebody intentionally,
Mm-hmm.
not when I shake
Right,
their hands.
exactly.
But if I'm sitting on an airplane, for example, and somebody just happens to touch me, I get these flashes of, and
Hmm.
it's not with everybody. It's just like
Right.
certain people. I'll get these flashes like this guy did something horrible to some woman, or this guy did this, or this guy did
Yes.
that. And now if
That's
I'm
been
picking up
happening to me for
actual
years.
well, yeah, but now if we're at a point where we're picking up actual sequential events and all piecing them together, holy crap. I don't know if my consciousness can handle this. I mean, like, even the flashes that I get when I touch somebody is enough for me. Like, I don't want to see all this stuff. But obviously, if
Right.
that's the case, then yeah, maybe something needs to be done about it. Maybe I'll go back and I'll ask her if anything like that happened to her. But that's a personal thing. A lot of people don't want to talk about that kind of stuff.
Right.
But maybe
Well, give her an
maybe
idea
she
what had
transferred
happened
that
to her.
energy because she needed somebody to talk to about it.
It could be that, or it could be that it's so great in her that she couldn't help but leak it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's
Oh,
like talking to you on the phone.
craziness.
I just remembered we're on the air. So, folks, if you want to know how Chris and I talk, when we're talking to each other, this is how we talk.
We
Okay,
we have these deep conversations like this for sure.
we do indeed. Yes, we do. So okay, wow, that's pretty
That
powerful, and
was
I
a
really
bombshell
feel
right there. I don't know where to go from there.
so.
So take us away,
Yeah, it's
please.
okay. Well, I have some questions for you. I mean, you don't follow the geopolitics so much, but
A little
at the
bit.
same, I know. Well, when you guys were doing geopolitics, holy crap, nobody could beat you. Um, but
Nah.
I have a question about how do you feel about Haley, and the UN ambassador? She's out
And I hate that word, geopolitics, geomancy, geoengineering.
because it's your name.
They blame me for everything. It's
Oh,
like, oh my
right.
god.
She's going to.
Okay, I don't know anything about this girl, but here's what I'm picking up, just energetically, is that she was on the side of the opposing force on Trump's administration, and Trump is getting rid of some of the people that were some of the enemies that he had within his circle.
Wow. See, I couldn't prove that. I could not prove that. The only thing I did know is that she's a Zionist, super Zionist.
It doesn't surprise me, yeah. But
Okay, I mean,
the thing
she
about
was
Trump
always.
though is before he got elected, he made a deal
Mhm.
with Israel to recognize the capital of the capital of Israel as Jerusalem. Now, you know
Yep.
what that does to the Palestinians is that takes away their right over Jerusalem as well. Because if I remember correctly, Jerusalem is split between the Palestinians and Israel. Now, if you
Yep.
type into Google what is the capital of Israel, Jerusalem pops up.
Yep.
The capital
Yep.
of Israel is not Jerusalem, it's Tel Aviv.
Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So what's going on here?
Because Google's right on board with the program,
It is
and
a
that's the
program.
program thing. Because the program is that they're doing everything they can to bring about all that Revelations apocalypse stuff. Okay, and this is part of it. The making Israel a country again and building the temples. Now, you remember from what back in '08 and '09 when we were all talking on Prison Planet. Remember when we were finding the information about the third temple? They're building it. The foundations are already there.
Well, and the red heifer prophecy.
Uh huh.
Yeah, they're now
Yep.
saying that the red heifer
You know
has
how
been
many red
born.
heifers have been born? Let me be straight about this. Okay, there has been so many red heifers born. Okay, they keep on talking about this red heifer, but it's the one they're choosing. Okay, and yes, those in the chat room, it is programming, it's psychological programming. They're trying to program us, and the first programming is a script, and that is Revelations.
Yes.
So all
Oh,
the
well,
Christians are reading.
just a heads up to everybody on YouTube. We get into Lucky's show is mostly politics and stuff. So just a heads up, because people in the chat are saying, "Hey, why are you talking about politics?" But anyways, so the red heifer is very interesting because it's actually symbolic of Baal. Baal was a calf, but going back even further, it's Hathor, the mother goddess.
Uh
So
huh.
why do they
Uh
keep
huh.
looking for this perfect, red heifer calf to sacrifice? I mean, that's exactly
Because they want to sacrifice that Hathor.
wow.
Sorry, I mean, we know that they've been at odds for a long time. And don't forget, Moses was in Egypt. Jesus was in Egypt. Okay, so these biblical stories, they got a lot of the Egyptian legends incorporated with a lot of the stories, like the written language for that matter too. The written language, they didn't start writing their language until after they left Egypt. And Moses was a prince in Egypt, if you recall.
Um, some people say he's Akhenaten. There's not very much evidence
No
to back
records on
that
it.
up, but
Yeah, there's
he was a prince, and he I don't know. The whole Egypt thing is obviously near and dear to my heart, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of
But I think
speculation
he
as
was
to who he
distant. I
was.
think I think these people were very distant from the comings and goings of the headquarters or the capitals of Egypt, and I'll tell you why. Not one mention of a pyramid in the Bible. Not one. There is not one mention of the Sphinx, and those things pre-existed Moses. Okay, so where were they? I'll concede that they were in Egypt, but where were they? They weren't anywhere near the pyramids because they would have said something about those things.
Some people have speculated that I want to say it was Joseph. There was one guy, I don't remember his name. He prophesied, he interpreted a dream for a king. And
Yeah,
when the dream,
Joseph.
Joseph, okay, yeah, his dream was interpreted, and then he was given, all the grains and everything like that. And some people say that the pyramid was actually where he stored all of this stuff.
No,
But
the gran. I've never seen a granary look like a pyramid.
yeah, well,
And where's the grains? We don't see any grains in the pyramid, do we?
that
Did you guys see any grains in
there
the
were
pyramid?
there
No.
were no grains in the pyramid. But if I remember correctly, the pyramid wasn't even excavated until around the time of Napoleon. So it could have been covered in the sand during that time. It's just speculation, but I know like the Temple of Hatshepsut, for example, wasn't excavated until the 1950s.
So then it begs the question, how did the subsequent generations in Egypt let those pyramids get buried in sand?
My speculation is that it was a nuclear blast. There was some kind of war around the time of SETI, and a lot of stuff started getting buried more and more. It's just speculation. I don't have anything to go off of it except for just intuition of actually being there. But I feel like something like that was afoot, but I couldn't expand on that.
It's interesting you said SETI. I had forgotten about that name. Okay.
Oh,
Because
SETI,
SETI,
SETI, and then SETI, the search for
Oh, yeah.
extraterrestrial. I
exactly,
never made that
exactly. I was
connection
like,
until now.
well, see, that's why you're on Quantum Connections. I'm always making those connections, those weird connections that nobody thinks about.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm
Oh,
taking that
okay. So
that's a
here's something
compliment.
even stranger. This is
Go ahead.
kind of off topic, but kind of on topic. So in Abydos, we went there just feeling just pure energy, and that's it. And the energy that we were picking up from the information embedded in the stones, along with some of the hieroglyphs, but we were mostly interested in the information embedded within the stones themselves, was a
Mhm.
story of the gods, for lack of a better term, bringing in weapons through the Stargate at Abydos. And more people are writing us and saying, hey, I remember being in Abydos too. My past lives are unlocking. I remember this is what we did, so on and so forth. But it's funny because that's exactly what we picked up was extraterrestrials, for lack of a better term. I mean, not saying that they come from another planet. They could have come from the future. They could have come from the past. They could have come from another dimension. There's so many other possibilities of where they came from. But the center point of this was the Temple of Abydos, which was SETI's temple. And now all the UFO stuff are named after SETI. So you just like blew my mind with that connection.
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought everybody picked up on that before. I thought, I just said it this time because it didn't seem like you were connecting it, but to remind folks, I thought everybody knew that. I really did. SETI, SETI,
Hmm.
search for extraterrestrial. Hey, girl, how you
Hey.
doing?
Yeah, and
That's a girl.
well, Seti comes from, like, it says he who is from Set or he who is of Set. And like when you see Tutmosis, that comes from Toth. When you see
Ramesses is
It
from
comes
Ra.
from Ra. Yeah, it's and so the
Oh, I didn't
pharaohs.
know Ramses Raw.
Yeah, their names always came from the god or goddess that they, or mostly just gods, that they were of, or they would basically say that this god gave me his power, and so Tutmosis was from Toth, Ramses from Ra, and Seti from Set.
Well, that
So,
makes sense.
yeah,
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
This brings in a whole
Whoa.
new
it
perspective
really
now.
does.
So, okay, so what
Seti.
they were trying to do at Abydos from the energetic reading is it turned to a place of the gates were closed, the stargates, and they were trying to open them after the gods left because they wanted the gods to return. They wanted to bring back weapons, and this is why we have all these false doors like literally everywhere. These were replications of the stargates. So what they turned to doing at Abydos was basically pizza type sacrifices. And I started to ask myself, you know,
Whoa.
everything is done on sound frequency. And so maybe it has to do with the sound of the victim trying to
Yes.
vibrate that same frequency while at the same time the blood trying to open up these gates. Well, we have the exact same thing going on now. We've got CERN, we've got all this along with all the pizza stuff. I
Chris,
think they
hang on.
may still be trying to do the exact same thing.
I need to interject something because you said something about the blood and the sound waves and everything. Now, don't forget, even in Genesis, where it says about when God was talking to Cain, he says, "Hark, his blood cries from the ground."
Yep, the blood cries
Oh.
to me from the ground.
And so
Yep.
those crystalline structures would be able to record all that. All that is recorded.
Wow.
You're giving me chills.
Yeah, me too.
Like I had no
I
idea
mean,
delving
don't
into the
leave.
politics here for just a moment would
Well,
unlock even
yeah,
more
when we-
gnosis, you know?
right. Yeah, believe me, this is what churns in my mind, and I don't get to talk about it because it's like talking on air like that all by myself. I can't do it like you do. You know what I'm saying? But I do have more. I have some news that it does apply, and I have it in my notes already too. So this surprise actually works because you're gonna like it, Chris. It's your storm. Okay, when we get back from the break, we got a few minutes before the break, but I'm not gonna jump into it now. If you guys want to stay on for another segment.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
Yes.
absolutely.
Yay, cool. But yeah, remember because you were talking about the call to Goetia when you were over there. I said when we were over there. I guess in another timeline I went with you.
We were all
Um,
together.
you should, yeah.
Mhm.
I think I should have been there with you. But anyway, the call to Goetia, those crystals, the crystalline structure of stone, it's recording all that.
Yes. And then not only the stone, but what
Mhm.
is the sand made out of? The sand is made out of little
The
tiny
sand.
crystals too.
Yep.
Mhm.
Every grain of sand is a micro crystal.
And
Exactly. So
it's
they're
recorded
pounding
all
it.
that energy.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that gets me is like, aside from the U.S. policy of invading and destroying countries and any socialist countries especially, it makes me wonder how is it that up until what this century or last century, all that stuff was buried. All that stuff was buried and hidden for this time.
Yeah.
Yep. It had
So
to be locked
They've
away.
only been revealed when they needed to be revealed.
right.
But then you've got the interloper that goes in and destroys and contaminates and compromises the information that's in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call it the interloper, okay,
Yeah.
for everybody's.
Well, there was a
Um,
story of a guy in Los Angeles, and he purchased these two sphinxes, and he put them in his yard. And he started looking at them and going, hey, you know, I think these are authentic. And come to find out, that guy, Zahi Hawass, he was basically
What?
just robbing and pillaging and
He was
selling
selling
artifacts and stuff like that.
artifacts.
And they were ending up all over the world. And yeah, I mean, it's a little ridiculous when you go there. Like we were just seeing Sekhmet statues just like laid out in the back of of Karnak, you know. And I'm like, this is not right. Like, you know, these are ancient things, and they're letting their camels crap all over them. But
Well,
they
interestingly
don't
enough,
care.
enough, he was like this driving force behind locking everything down, not letting people in to see like the subterranean chamber and the queen's chamber, making sure everything's locked up so that nobody can see anything, and making it so where the people that are going in and trying to do like sound frequencies and things like that are shh. You know, he was the driving force behind all that. And then at the same time, he's taking these artifacts, these precious artifacts, and selling them.
Well, one of the things that happened, and I know we're hitting the break here in a second, is there was some paint. The only writing in the Great Pyramid, and it said Khufu built the pyramid, and a camera crew managed to get in there, get a piece of it, have it analyzed, and realize that the paint was only like 100 years old, and the pyramid was way, way, way older. So it was apparent fraud. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So we're going to resume this on the other side of the break, guys. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Please go to the front page on tfrlive.com and go to iAlife and order you some. It really does work. We'll be back in 3.
Awesome. I'm going to go run and grab some coffee real quick.
The ayahuasca
Did I
vine
not make
is
you
the
know?
non-psychoactive component
Oh, no, I drank
of
it.
the South
Oh, you drank it all.
Can you grab
Okay.
another cup?
Yeah.
ayahuasca. It is known for its anti-parasitic properties, both physically and spiritually, and is considered
go get
the
it.
spirit of
Are you
Aya.
sure? Okay.
The hemp plant has been considered a
I have
miracle
such a sweet twin.
by natives around the world. For the
Aw.
powerful
Not very sweet.
non-psychoactive component, cannabidol.
Yeah, apparently there's about 200 listeners that just decided to join your Facebook.
To aid relief.
Oh,
of
awesome.
everything
So that's cool.
inflammation,
Yeah, because the
chronic
reason why I know this is because they're not on the stats here. I'm looking at the live stats.
Ah.
They're
much
just like,
more.
okay,
For the first
no biggie,
time,
it's
you
okay. But Freeman
Synergy.
8 is in the chat room.
hemp and ayahuasca plants to bring you a
Yep,
perfect
we've got Freeman 8, Who's
Like,
Brandy,
so-
Marco,
we call
Epic Journeyman,
I-
Princess
can
Brianna,
find ialife.com.
Shawnee Tarot.
Princess Brianna. I don't know her.
These
Fine.
are in the BTV chat.
Hi, folks. Let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply and, of course, the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic, and very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game, at the top of your game with getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Again, getthetea.com.
True initiation is an inward journey. It's a spiritual path that is totally inward. It has nothing to do with anything external to you.
I want to determine if the grand architect is indeed what I believe it to be, which is the artificial intelligence.
The initiatory path is one of self-discovery and
There's my pretty twin.
self-reveal.
Aw.
My beautiful
Not
twin.
a journey that someone can hold your hand.
Thank you for the
through.
coffee.
Thank you for calling.
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen,
Oh, you guys are
I will
sweet.
take you through the steps of initiation. Remember, you are divinity.
Step Beyond the Veil with Chris and Cherie Geo, Fridays and Saturdays, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Here we go. Wrong one. Here we go.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR Frequency Radio.
And we're back. Thank you for joining me and letting us have some real estate in your ears. You're listening to TFRlive.com, and this is Quantum Connections, and I'm Lucky. With me is Chris and Cherie Geo. They are, let's see, psychonauts. They are travelers.
I'm just the
and-
guy
oh my gosh, what-
flinging toe cheese.
Do you remember that, Lucky?
Yes, I do.
Uh-huh.
That is a joke that I think only the three of us get.
Yeah. Yep.
And everybody's going to be going, what does that mean?
Yeah, I'm going to be pestered for that one. I know.
Well, Cherie said
Tell
something
us.
on Facebook the other day. We were
Yeah.
talking about sex and how, it just kind of like devolved
Devolved
into sex. And Cherie and I were going back and forth on Facebook. And she goes, I like the way you're thinking. Go get the puppets. And that's from Aqua Teen
That's
Hunger
from
Force.
from Aqua Teen.
And it's just something random that I say when we're talking. I'm like, I like the way you're thinking. Go get the puppets. It has nothing to do with sex.
Yeah.
But
it
in
has
this
nothing
context, she said, I like the way you're thinking. Go get the puppets. And now everybody probably thinks that there's puppets in
That
our
we use
sex life
puppets
somehow.
when we have
And so I think
sex or
people can just
something.
think about that.
Puts the Muppets in a whole new perspective.
So context is
Put
important.
your hand where?
Exactly.
I
Ah.
can't even.
I make Lucky snort a lot. Oh, there she just did
she
it.
did it.
I think she muted, so she's not
Thanks.
snorting.
I'm trying to breathe, guys. Come on, give me a minute. Well, thank you for cheering me up from such a rough day. I appreciate that.
Good.
Oh, listen. Okay, I wanted to tell you about that article. Okay,
Take us away.
it's called, huh?
Take us away.
Yeah. Thoughts storm, a new evidence for ancient Egyptians in Ireland. Okay. When ancient Egypt and Ireland are spoken about in the same breath, it usually results in the rolling of the eyes, polite exits, and the sound of murmurs, citing pseudo history and New Age babble. At least that used to be the case. Recent discoveries in DNA research have added to already verified archaeological finds to present a scenario that is more difficult to dismiss. The Hill of Tara is one of Ireland's most ancient sacred sites. It's surrounded by many other Neolithic earthworks and tombs, and although commonly associated with the Celts, the site predates their arrival in Ireland by thousands of years. In legend, it is a place where the Tuatha De Danann reigned. These were godlike people who were said to have arrived in Ireland in mysterious ships and had magical powers. During recent and very controversial excavations near Tara, a story emerged about a strange skeleton that had been found by workers digging at Lismullen-Henge. Some thought it was the remains of a dog, and others a badger. But most curious of all was the claim of some witnesses that the remains were, in fact, those of an ape. As Con Connor, archdruid of Ireland's Celtic Druid Temple, writes, why was such a ritual burial in a royal site not cause for focused investigation? In her work, A Course of Severe Arduous Trials, author Lynn Brunette writes that, furthermore, the Irish Masonic author J.A. Penny notes that a skeleton of Barbary ape had been found at Tara, the mythical center of Ireland and seat of the High King. But why would there have been such strange bones buried at the site? These primates are not indigenous to Ireland, and the archaeological complex surrounding Tara dates back to thousands of years. If bones of an ape have been found at any point, do we have a precedent for such a burial at any other of Ireland's most ancient sacred places? In fact, we do. During excavations, I'm not pronouncing it right, Maka Navan Fort in County Armagh, the skull of Barbary ape was found. When it was carbon dated, it was discovered to be roughly 2,500 years old. The question for many archaeologists is how is it that it got to Ireland in the first place? But perhaps more intriguing inquiry would investigate why. One of the more controversial theories when it comes to the origins of the Irish people is a connection to ancient Egypt. Although there are many Irish legends connecting Tara and Egyptian royalty, these have been impossible to prove. One of the most intriguing examples of the proposals was the discovery of the skeleton of a 15-year-old boy at the Mound of Hostages near Tara by Dr. Sean Riordan of Trinity College. Carbon dating showed that the remains were roughly 3,800 years old. A necklace found with the skeleton was made of faience beads and matched similar Egyptian manufacture and design. You'll have to look up the faience beads. I've seen pictures of those before. Anyway, there's also the famous legend of Queen Scotia, an Egyptian princess or queen, depending on which version of the legend you read, who was said to have arrived in Ireland in 1700 BC and was killed by the Tuatha De Danann in great battle. Her supposed grave is marked by a giant inscribed stone in County Kerry, and its importance has led to local politicians calling for its preservation. An interesting aside is that Scotia's grave is not far from the island of Skellig Michael, the site of a pre-Christian settlement and later a monastery. According to the 11th century Liber Gabala Eirain, Book of Invasions, Milesius, a great leader of one of Ireland's invaders, lost two of his sons nearby in 1400 BC when a magical storm caused by the Tuatha De Danann submerged their ship. Despite these legends, up until recently, there had been very little strong academic evidence linking Ireland with the lower Mediterranean. In December 2015, however, all this changed. Scientists from Trinity College, Dublin, and Queen's University Belfast published new findings in the journal, The Proceedings of National Academy of Sciences. What they found was that the ancient Irish were not only related to the people of Southern Europe, but also there was a Middle Eastern connection too. With this new knowledge comes tantalizing explanation that the ape skull in ancient Ireland, and which connects to a previously unexplored etymological link to the Tuatha De Danann. Commonly, the meaning of this mysterious race has been posited the people of Danu, a mother goddess of Irish mythology. However, the earliest recordings of Tuatha do not include the last word, Danann, instead being described as Tuatha De or Tuatha De. In fact, it is only since the 19th century that the current description of Danu was widely accepted by scholars. Perhaps then it's time to look at these people using the new information we now have about their roots and, most importantly, the gods they worshipped and revered. One of the most important Egyptian gods was Thoth, later to be named Hermes by the Greeks. Thoth was a moon god who was said to have brought wisdom and writing to the world. He was often represented and symbolized by a baboon in the North African ape. This could be a reason for the ape bones found at the Irish sites, perhaps. Even more curious are the overlooked etymological variants of Thoth, Thut and Thought. When we look for phonetic comparisons within the Egyptian hieroglyphs, we find very apt descriptions of the Tuatha De Danann arrival in Ireland. Tut Dai translates as thoughts crossing. Thut Dat translates thoughts journey by boat, and Thut Da translates as thoughts storm, according to Libor Erin, the Tuatha that came to Ireland in dark clouds. All of these phonetic similarities are in line with the descriptions of these legendary people and how they arrived in Ireland. Another telling factor is the omission of these translations by scholars in the 19th century is that the Rosetta Stone and the decipherment of hieroglyphics by Champollion only took place in the 1820s. The early Christian monks who first recorded these stories would have had no knowledge of these phonetic translations. Indeed, most scholars of Irish mythology in the 19th century probably remained unaware of Champollion's work as well. Most believe the Danann came from the Vedic goddess Danu. When we remove the more fanciful elements of myth and lore, we are still left with many unanswered questions that new scientific evidence is compelling us to ask. Some of the answers have already overturned previous academic opinion, and with each technological breakthrough, we discover new means to dig further into our past. Although these ancient connections between Ireland and Egypt was once thought far-fetched and outside of accepted scholarly realm, we now have more reason than ever to examine these links and wonder again about the Tuatha De or possibly Thoth's storm.
That is fascinating stuff because just recently Paul Oakenfold, a really famous
Yeah.
a really famous rave DJ, he did a kind of mini rave at Stonehenge. But he made everybody wear headphones to quote unquote respect the monuments. So there wasn't any sound frequency actually blasted to the stones themselves, which I think all of this vibrates on certain sound frequencies. Like Egypt, for example, all the temples vibrate a particular frequency, and that Muslim call to prayer is an overlay over that frequency. But from what I understand, Thoth, and for some reason in my ayahuasca experiences, it's always been pronounced as Thoth. Thoth is it just feels right to me. But it's interesting that you made all these different connections with Thoth and the different pronunciations like that, which kind of opens up a different thought pattern for me. But I think that this character, whether it was one incarnation or various incarnations, kind of laid a path and appeared in many different places at many different times throughout
Can
history.
I be honest with you?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a group.
It could have been a group.
It could have been.
Yeah.
That it could have been a group of people and they were called Thoth, or Thoth. All right. but the thing is, remember Michael Tellinger?
Hmm.
Okay, and we've talked with him back and forth. I mean, I know you guys have had him on your show a long time ago, for quite often actually. And I remember one time I had asked him. He was talking about the Irish, history and everything. And I posed the question and I asked you to, to ask him. And you were telling me, he says he doesn't do book reviews. I'm like, no, no, no. This is an old book. The author's long dead. And so you posed the question, and he knew the exact work I was talking about, History of the Irish Race by Seamus McManus. And he also discusses the relationship between Egypt and Ireland.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Oh yeah.
I
I've known this a
I
long
wonder
time
if
ago. So when I saw
Stonehenge.
this, I'm like,
I wonder if Stonehenge is an important site that we need to go
Yeah.
investigate.
Yeah.
I know this,
They'll
that there are
let
some
you.
pictures circulating from the early 40s or 50s, and people claim that Stonehenge was built at that time. But there's also conspiracy theories that the temples were built in the late 1800s by Freemasons, of all, the
Right.
Freemasons, because, of
yeah,
course,
they get their hands in everything.
yeah,
don't they?
who controls the British crown? Who keeps the
course.
metric system down? We do,
Right.
I mean, it's a little bit ridiculous because I know a couple of Freemasons and they can't even organize a freaking bake sale, but
This is actually true.
yeah. And the smartest one that I know is busy writing books all the time, Robert W. Sullivan. Who's an awesome guest. You should consider having him on sometime if you're interested in Masonic history. But anyways, there's some speculation that even these monuments aren't as old as what we believe them to be. Now, I'm taking all of these different thought patterns and kind of putting them all together here and trying to see where can I meet everybody in the middle. So we have a temple in Angkor Wat. I want to say, I don't remember what countries it's in, but it's called Angkor Wat Temple. And in this temple, you can see what looks like Stegosaurus carved into the columns. Now, this temple was built in like the 1600s or something like that. When we went to the step pyramid, I touched the stones and I was getting visions of dinosaurs. And I'm like, I don't understand why I'm getting visions of dinosaurs. I don't even believe in dinosaurs. I think that people like Jaron, people like that, make a pretty good case as to the whole idea of dinosaurs being fabricated. But then somebody in the chat, because we were doing a live stream afterwards, they said, no, they found the biggest dinosaur fossil right there where you are, right at the step pyramid. So what you're picking up energetically is actually being physically proven now. And this was like 2 weeks before we got there that they made this discovery. So I'm wondering, is it possible that we think that ancient Egypt was, 10,000 years ago or 8,000 years ago, and we think the dinosaurs were 65 million years ago? But what if the Christians actually have the timeline right, and everything has happened within the last 6,000 years, but all these different occurrences are, or time frames, I should say, are being based on an already scientific understanding. So they're having to make all these different stretches and stuff and say, well, dinosaurs actually existed 65 million years ago, where they actually existed only a few hundred years ago. And that's why you see them on these temples in the 1600s, for example. So maybe the people who are saying that the pyramids were built and the temples are not as old as people are claiming to be, what if there's some truth to that? What if things like Stonehenge were built only a couple of hundred years ago as opposed to, whenever? What do you think about that possibility?
Well, the thing is about carbon dating, it's not a precise science, I have to say, because first off, I've always advocated that that back in the old days, biblical days. I'm going to go with biblical history because I'm pretty adept at that. Okay. Everybody says there's no dinosaurs in the Bible. Well, yes, there is. Okay, dinosaurs are in the Bible too. It's depicted in the Bible. They were told. He spoke about the Leviathan. All right. Now, see, after the flood, okay, after the earth was flooded, and all the different continents have recordings about the Great Flood. So the flood happened. We all know that. I've seen crinoids and sea life in mountains, in the caves of mountains. So, okay, so let's, that doesn't warrant any dispute, really. But after the flood, the oxygen levels in our atmosphere was far decreased. Okay. And what happened is that the dinosaurs could not live in that environment. They needed that rich oxygen and the oxygen could no longer penetrate their muscle, the deep muscles. So that's why they pretty much died off. So they did exist. It's just that well, you know that unicorns existed. So why are we disputing about the dinosaurs, right?
That's interesting because, from my understanding, the flood happened when people were here, and
Who says there was only one flood? And yes,
there could have
people
been
have coexisted with dinosaurs.
well, even the Bible says in those days giants were on the earth, and so if the oxygen levels were higher, then that could not only breed giant animals like dinosaurs, but also giant people.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then you have these petroglyphs of people riding dinosaurs. And it's like, well, wait a minute. You're not supposed to have petroglyphs of people with dinosaurs because the two were supposed to be millions of years apart from one another. Why do we have petroglyphs
That's
with all
because
this?
that's bad science right there. That was bad. When I was in elementary school, they tried the same thing too, but it doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. When you've got tracks, a human being's tracks was inside that of a T-Rex down in Texas. Okay, so they coexisted. There are people who described it. You've got petroglyphs. So obviously the science is wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody doing this scientist worship and everything like that. Science is good as far as being a tool, and when it works great. Okay, if it's not working, we can't say science is the end all be all for truth. Okay, and I love science. I adore science. I love studying things. Okay, so don't get me wrong. I'm not poo-pooing science. What I'm saying is that science is a tool. Okay, so you use it for good things, you can use it for bad things, and like for instance, climate change, okay, or global warming and all that crap. You can see how science is wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Observation, instruments and observation. I mean, and
It sounds like you're turning into a flat earther, Lucky.
No, I'm not.
Okay, I'm just
making
sure, putting a caveat out there because you're getting into some dangerous territory now.
No. Oh no. See, the thing is that again, no, seriously, I'm not at all. And I mean, trying to explain it gives me a headache, to be honest with you.
Well, you know what?
It really does.
What's really interesting is they call it the Paluxy Riverbed, and where this is located, it's the dinosaur fossils that you were talking about, and the human footprints being in the exact same place. That's actually in Glen Rose, Texas, which is just a little bit away from where I grew up in Tyler, Texas.
Didn't we go to Dinosaur Park together?
Yeah, we did. And what's even more interesting is that the name of the street that I went to high school and graduated high school from is called Paluxy Drive. So Paluxy is. I just saw Paluxy and I was like, that's weird. But yeah, it's
okay.
Yeah, it's called the Paluxy Riverbed, the Taylor site in Glen Rose, Texas. That's where it is.
And so let's throw something else in I'm going to throw something entirely different into the whole mix now. You ready?
Uh-oh.
Okay, so yeah, here we go. Oil. Oh. Okay, so remember all these scientists say that it takes millions of years to make the oil.
Mm-hmm.
That's nonsense. Okay, I think that it's created just like all our other minerals and everything. And it doesn't take millions of years. It just takes the right environment, heat, pressure, etc. Proper chemicals. So I don't think that we're going to be out of oil.
I agree with you on that. And I don't think that it comes from dinosaur fossils. I think it's
not
the way I see it. It's the blood of the earth. And we've been sucking the blood of the earth, which really, when you think about it, you go back to the story of the Anunnaki. We were supposedly created by the Anunnaki to mine gold and to basically take the resources from planet Earth. This was genetically put into our DNA. And even to this day,
desire gold and
yes, people wear gold. People are always all about gold. Gold is the biggest value, and all we do as a species, all we do as a species is just mine resources from the planet. I mean, we're basically parasites on this planet. I hate to say it like that, but really, we're just destroying the planet. or plain,
those
whatever you want to
well,
call
those,
it. I try to stay in the middle ground, you know.
Yes, I see that in Middle Earth. You know? But here's the thing: it's like, okay, I was going somewhere with that, because we've got again scientists. Okay, so you've got scientists saying that oil is restricted or not restricted, it's limited, and so we're not going to get any more oil. We're almost tapped out, which is a crock. Then you've got the people who believe that it's constantly flowing and it's constantly recreating and it's constantly filling up, and we have plenty of it. But my question is, it's like if it was a constant flow and created, where was it before Rothschild? Or was it Rothschild? No, it was what was his name? The other R, not Rothschild.
Rockefeller.
Rockefeller, yes.
Yeah.
Before Rockefeller took off with and made it a big business. What was taking its place? Because oil is not good for the environment, even in its raw form.
What was taking its place? I don't understand the question because
okay.
back then
Nuclear.
it was coal, and
No. Well, let me rephrase. Okay, let me try that again. If it's supposed to be constantly growing and getting created all the time, okay, if that's by what some scientists say it is, okay, that we have an infinite supply of oil because it constantly keeps getting created, right? If that's the case, then where was it before the Rockefellers? What I mean to say is that because you have what's called sweet crude. All right. What that means is that's on the surface of the earth. You don't have to do very much digging to get to it. You see what I mean? And then, of course,
there's something that's, and I haven't been able to prove this. I think it was Alan Watt on Alex Jones a while back talking about this. So it's just something I heard in passing. But it's something called abiotic oil or abionic oil, something like that. Abiotic oil, yeah. And supposedly this is what they were after when the BP oil spill happened. And they figured out that they can get it from there, and they can also get it from Alaska as well, or up around the pole region. But they were digging so hard for this that they basically destroyed the ocean over there. Looking for this stuff, but it's supposed to be the pure concentrated, creme de la creme oil.
Yeah. I'm not as conversant on oil as some. Okay, so I'm going to leave that alone. I can't answer that at all. But I just find it interesting that all these different science. What I was trying to point out is all these scientists. You've got the right and the wrong. You've got the true and untrue. And you've got scientists who will say whatever to get their funding for research. See? So we have to be careful. Can you hear the rain?
Oh, I miss the rain. We get no rain up here.
Yeah, we got a little bit the last couple of days, but
yeah, we have to focus really hard to just get a few drops up here.
Yep.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Used to. Well, the used to should be able to handle that. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But there's supposed to be. I thought there was the remnants of a hurricane coming your way. I thought, or whatever they call it, the typhoon on the west. Wasn't there one that was supposed to be coming up your way? I thought I saw that this morning. If you guys watch Suspicious Observers on YouTube, I'm telling you what, he is really good at the weather and showing how the sun affects our weather directly. I'm not talking about just sunshine. I'm talking about the solar flares, the coronal holes, the magnetic connection that happens when there is a coronal hole. It's so fascinating. It really is. I think you guys would enjoy it, really. Because Chris, you understand that stuff, and especially when he starts talking about the galactic.
Yeah, a lot of we live in a small town of about 2,000 people, and a lot of the business owners I talk to here actually watch Suspicious Observer. So it's funny because we'll just kind of throw hints out to people, and then they're like, oh no, yeah, I listened to Suspicious Observer, I listened to this, I listened to that. So there's like a lot of awakened people walking around, but they don't want to sound crazy, so they don't make themselves known.
Real quiet.
You know what? I think you're right on that. I think you're correct on that, because I know that I sit there and tiptoe around a subject for a while, and then I was like, oh, screw it. I'm going to just blat it out. Harry, what do you think about this? And, so I get called crazy, and I don't care. I've been called crazy all my life, but I was right. I might be crazy, but I'm right.
You know,
So-
you'll find out that that's usually the case. I mean, aside from every once in a while, you'll come across somebody who looks at you like you're crazy if you say, "Oh, well, of course I'm not getting a flu shot." You know, who in the right mind would get one? And then they look at you like you're crazy, and they're like, "Well, I get one every year." I mean, aside from that,
And then they call you
kind
a
of
year
person-
later and go, I got breast cancer. I don't know why.
yeah, exactly.
Well,
Oh,
I
don't
don't
get me
know. Maybe it's because you're
started.
pumping yourself up with all these chemicals. I don't know.
Well, yeah,
Uh-huh.
but aside from that one person, there's usually like 100 people that agree with you about the flu shots. Now the thing is, though, that everybody has this idea that they're not going to be accepted, so everybody stays quiet. So we have to get loud about what we believe and what we think. So in my opinion.
Precisely. And exactly, we do need to get loud, and we need to get up in everybody's faces. We'll be back here in 3 minutes, folks. You're listening to Quantum Connections on TFRLive.com.
It's your number one source for news and information without the hate.
Oh, this is a
hype,
lot of
and
fun.
fear.
It is.
Proud to feature
I'm
cutting-edge
glad
programs
you're
like
enjoying. I'm
Beyond
glad
the
you're having
Veil
fun.
with Chris and
I'm glad you
Cherie
guys came
Geo.
on. I
Squared
appreciate
with Brooke
that.
Zagnew.
Let me
Paranormal Portal
turn off
with
the
Brent
commercials.
Thomas. Charanism Raw with
That one is
Sharon
loud.
Nissa. Fearless with Frank Castle. Strange World with Mark
I can do
Sargent.
that
The
from here.
Eye of Ra with Ra Castaldo. The Infinite Fringe with Billy Ray. Ironworks.
There.
Oh, okay, cool. I could have turned it off on the server side, but
Yeah, don't mess with the server, dude. Don't mess with the server. Please don't. Everything's going fine. We're doing good.
awesome. Awesome. This is a lot of fun. Thank you for having this on. And
Yes,
I was
thank
feeling
you.
kind of crappy this morning too because that dream and everything, and I'm just like, oh
I
my
bet.
god. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I bet.
Oh, I promise. But
that's-
I had the exact same kind of dream a few days before. And so I don't know what's really going on, but I know everybody's having these weird dreams about their significant other leaving them or
Well, I had a dream the other day. I was on a ship, and I was like, it was this huge battleship type thing, and it was like some kind of campaign event, and it was Obama and Trump. And I was on Trump's team, but I was kind of an advisor rather than a participant. And there was this like huge, like all these people protesting on this huge battleship type cruise ship. And I walk over to Obama and I sit down and I shake his hand and I'm like, look, if you just give a little bit, Trump is a businessman. He wants to make a deal. Okay. So you give a little bit, we can find somewhere to meet in the middle. We don't have to fight like this, so on and so forth. And I walk away from the table. I'm giving you the abridged version here. I walk away from the table and then all of a sudden, all this security just grabs me and they're looking at me and they're like, what did you tell him? What did you tell him? As if like I had said something that I wasn't supposed to say. And I'm like, it's none of your damn business. And they're like, who are you? How did you get here? Et cetera, et cetera. And then all of a sudden, these security doors just all like start coordinating all these areas off. And then all of a sudden water starts coming up and people were asking me, I posted it on Facebook to get people's opinions on what this could possibly mean. But water started coming up. And at first I thought the ship was sinking. But then somebody said, well, what if they were actually flooding the ship? And the symbolism was if there's peace between the two divides right now that we have in the United States, then they'll just flood the entire ship and just let it sink.
You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Before you go too far, water represents word or truth. We'll put that on for
So we can
for a
flood.
bit.
We can flood this with the truth.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen and it shows in Revelations if you read Revelations again. But we're about to go back on. I got to get the studio back up.
All right.
Hang on. Come on, studio. Where are you? There we go.
Wherever you are, make it T. Frequency Radio.
You are listening to Quantum Connections with Luckee One.
And we're back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And with me today is Chris and Cherie Geo. They are, they're very dear friends of mine, and I love them dearly for coming on the show at the last minute and actually cheering me up greatly after a rough day. I mean, that's what friends are for, but they really just jumped in there, and I appreciate them. Good evening, guys. Where you at? Can you hear me?
We are here,
We're here.
and
Oh,
and thank you for the kind words. I mean, you've been a friend of ours for like 13 years now. Like even way before Cherie and I got together, before TFR, before anything. Like you're really our dearest friend when it's in our Beyond the Veil journey. So, we thank you for being along with us on the journey. And, a lot of people don't realize this, but Luckee plays a huge role in TFR. Like, when we were in Egypt, she was basically running the whole show and working full time. And she helps out all the hosts. She does all kinds of stuff behind the scenes.
Oh,
so,
yeah, she does. She's an integral part of TFR.
Yes, so people need to realize that, and you don't mess with Luckee.
Don't
because
ever mess with
if you
Luckee.
mess with Luckee, I promise you, I will not take your side, no
No.
matter what.
You will not win.
I will always stand by Luckee.
Yep,
So
me
just
too.
a heads up.
I love you guys. You guys
Well,
are
people come to
awesome.
me and they're like, "Luckee did this." I'm like, I don't care. I don't
I
care.
didn't know that.
It's
I didn't
Lucky's.
know that.
It's it's Lucky's chat room. She can run it any way she wants. But
Yeah.
nope. It's Lucky's rules. So you better
Oh,
respect
gosh.
the queen. Yep.
So is Hurricane Michael actually going to hit you?
I don't know.
Where you're at?
We're just getting rain right now. They
Okay.
had predicted this, so no. This I think I haven't looked in the past 10 hours or 12 hours. Excuse me. I have not looked
Apparently
in the past 12 hours.
It's gotten bad, and it's
Oh,
actually
geez, let me take-
it's a Category 4, and I saw a few videos of it just now, and I'm like, ugh.
Well, we did a group meditation for that last
Yeah.
hurricane, and we steered it in the other direction. However, with this one here,
It was
I
so
f-
sudden for me.
well, I feel
I
like
didn't
we
catch
don't
it.
need to get involved in this one. Like this one needs to take its course. That's just
Okay.
what I'm picking up energetically. If the
probably
You
listeners,
too. No, me too. I'm like,
Yeah,
let it
you're
go.
probably right.
I'm serious. I'm dead serious. I was like, just let it go. Let it be. It's supposed to do what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to clean something up. I don't know what, but yeah, that thing's gonna hit. Yeah, that's gonna hit. It's gonna hit us.
You know what? I wonder if, like, on a higher level, some of this stuff is kind of meant to clean up things that are
Yes.
not good that are happening. Like, what we were talking about earlier with the pizza stuff, all of that stuff. Maybe there's like a location there that needs to be destroyed. That's involved in that kind of thing. I don't know, but yeah, I think you guys are right.
maybe we'll meditate on
Well,
it a
in
little
this
bit,
one,
and
I
then do a
do
group
think so.
meditation if the spirits call for that. But
Yeah.
no, people in
Oh.
the chat are agreeing too that this one just feels energetically like it needs to take its course.
Wait a minute. Who said it? Jazzman said, that's Reverend Pat Robertson's domain, dude. Talking about it's supposed to clean up all this stuff,
Is it
there you go.
is it really? Is
There
it-
you go.
Wow.
Oh, do you
Confirmed.
remember Pat Robertson, what he used to do?
No.
Every
no.
time a hurricane, what was it? Was it him that said that about Haiti and
Oh,
all
that's
people
the
who
really
died?
old
The
guy.
really
Oh,
old one.
yeah.
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 I know, I've met that guy.
And he's like, well, those kids on Beyond the Veil, they started the end times apocalypse with what they did in
Yeah.
the pyramids, and
I hate
they
that guy.
tore
Oh, they
the
make me
veil.
barf.
that guy.
Look, okay, hold
So
on.
you
a
should
second.
lock
Let's
your
get this-
daughters
get
up.
me- you get me started on that. You keep on, people keep on talking about this veil thing. That's becoming a dialectic. It's becoming a catchphrase nowadays about the veil, beyond the veil, tear the veil. All this stuff is going on. Let me explain something. When you first told me that you were changing your format and your program to Beyond the Veil, and you asked me what I thought, and I was like, hell yeah, do it, because when Jesus died, the veil was rent in twain, and we are supposed to go beyond the veil. We're not supposed to sit there and look at the veil and all the shredded fabric, And for anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, there was a veil between the holy and the holy of holies in the temple, okay, and the Mosaic temple.
Mm-hmm.
There was a veil and it protected the people from going into the Holy of Holies where the Ark of the Covenant was and where there was superpower in there, okay? So what happened is when Jesus died, that veil was torn in two. It just shredded across, okay? So we're supposed to go beyond the veil. We all are supposed to go beyond the veil because the first one did it,
It's funny because
Anyway,
we covered this stuff last Saturday, and I want to make a distinction because the way I see it, there's two veils that we're working with here. The first veil is over the consciousness of the organic consciousness of people like you and I and everybody that listens to our shows. We have a veil that was dropped, and a lot of people are remembering now their past lives. They're remembering a lot of stuff that this veil was covering up. However, there is another veil, and these are the veils that exist within the dimensions. The way the Matrix was set up, from my understanding, is that each type of entity is supposed to have its own little space. Oh, Michelle gave a $20 donation. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you,
We're gonna
Michelle.
pass that over to Lucky. So,
Oh.
because it's the Lucky show tonight. But thank you, Michelle.
You.
There's many different veils that keep the dimensions separate, and these little grays, and a lot of people will call them demons, but I mean they resonate on the same frequency. But I don't believe in demons because, as a creator being myself, and many people listening are creator beings as well, we understand that we created these things. So we shouldn't be afraid of our own creation. But they have been getting out of control, and they've been shifting into dimensions that they're not supposed to be. And so those veils have been legitimately broken, and entities, or what I call programs in the Matrix, have been moving up and down through these different dimensions, and they're not supposed to do that. Our goal is to rebalance everything and remove the veil from the consciousness of the overlay of the creator beings that are here in this construct right now, while at the same time reseal all of these veils that are interdimensional, so these beings, these programs, can't infect other parts of the system. It's just like if you had a malware program on your computer, and then all of a sudden it was able to access all of the files in C:\Windows, for example. Those are your operating system files. These programs aren't supposed to have administrative privileges over those other programs that exist within the operating system, but somehow these virus programs have been able to figure out how to get in there and get into different parts of your system that they're not supposed to get into. So, that's what we mean by beyond the veil. I felt like I should make a distinction to that because
That's
recently, we had somebody accuse us of dropping the veil of all dimensions and letting demons into this construct. And it's like, dude, no, that's not what we mean by beyond the veil. We mean removing the veil up from the consciousness. But I recognize that we do need to cordon off these different dimensions, so these little grays and demons, or whatever you want to call them, can't jump from one dimension to another.
Okay, now that you said that, because I wanted to, I've been talking to a lot of people lately, and I discussed about this topic about the membrane. You were talking about the membrane and how it's getting thinner and thinner and thinner, and it's now broken. And I'm sure there's some remnants still in it intact, but they have yet to disintegrate, if you will. When a long time ago, what was it back? 20 years ago, something like that. I had seen. I'm brushing my hair in my bathroom, okay, and I'm just brushing my hair, and in the mirror, I see over my left shoulder an angel. Looked like he was trying to get through a membrane. I couldn't. It was a golden light back there, behind him, if you will. But it looked like it was brass and everything. But it's saran wrap. It was kind of like saran wrap, a golden saran wrap, if you will. You know what I'm saying? And it looked like he was trying to break through. And I was like, whoa, dude, right? And I flipped around and looked at him, right? Tried to look at him with my physical eyes instead of through the mirror, or with the mirror of the reflection of the mirror. And I was like, what the heck? And I'm like, I had never seen that before. Now I'm not into angel worship. Okay. But when that happened, I was like, whoa, that's cool, but I'm not going to be sitting here talking because I speak to source. You know what I'm saying? I speak to the source. I don't want to be talking to angels or ET or anything else. It's like just to the direct source of all.
No, I agree. I agree with you. A lot of these entities will appear within the ayahuasca experience, within meditations, things like that. And it takes a level of discernment to understand what's what. And a lot of them are deceptive. A lot of them have an agenda of their own. A lot of people use, a lot of programs use people to manipulate and push a certain agenda. So the way I see it, you have unlocking programs that are there to unlock. Once that
Okay.
section of your consciousness is unlocked, that's it. You don't, that program is no longer, you don't need that program anymore. If that program is appearing over and over and over again, like I heard one guy saying the other day that the Palladians or Arcturians or something like that are going to give him all these special powers, and they're going to take him away if they don't do exactly what they say and this and that. And I'm like, those are archons, 100% archons. You know, I encountered one entity, for example, and I won't name him by name because it's a very controversial name. But it gave me a light. And then I called out to it again. And when it appeared again, it said, don't call on me anymore. I've already given you everything. Go give the light to somebody else now. You have become the light now. Go give it to somebody else. That was an unlocking program. It wasn't one that was insistent on doing a certain thing. It wasn't one giving orders. It wasn't one any of that. But I have had, entities appear that I could tell right off the bat are virus malware programs within the system itself. So people need to make a distinction of that. They call out to all their different archangels and all this stuff, and the question is like, what are they doing for you, or what are you doing for them? See,
That's a good question right there.
Yeah.
What are they doing for you? What are you doing for them?
Yes.
Okay, because here's the thing, and don't get me wrong. Everybody knows I'm Christian. Okay, so here's the thing I've got to say about that, because now if you've got all these angels talking to you and everything like that, you're not supposed to be talking to them. They're messengers. That's it. Okay. Not supposed to be talking to all these angels and, the Archangel Michael, whatever. Stop with that already. You're supposed to talk to Source, because we have a direct line. Again, that veil was rent in two. We have a direct line of communication with Source, with the originator. You know what I'm saying? So if people understood that, I don't mean to I'm not trying to diss people or anything like that, but I would like to see people stop depending on others for their lives.
Yes.
And instead of that, go with the source, listen to your gut instinct or your intuition or God's voice, whatever you want to call that. Okay. And all these other frou-frou and fairies and whatever, it's all cute and everything like that. But the bottom line is our lives are at stake, and our minds and our soul. That's
our
where
consciousness,
our souls are at stake.
our consciousness,
Yeah.
completely.
It's all at stake.
These programs are supposed to work for us, not the other way around. See, we're these high dimensional beings that have come down here to the third dimension. And there's beings that are resonating on these other dimensions, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, et cetera, et cetera. But in actual fact, we resonate way higher than that. We've just incarnated into these bodies. So we're looking essentially to lower dimensional beings, because from that vantage point of being way up at the top, everything is a lower dimensional being. And we're somehow looking to them as if they're superior to us. It's because we've forgotten who we are as the creator beings that we are.
Exactly. You nailed it. Okay. Right there, because it's all about power, folks. I mean, this is what's happening, is that there's others out there trying to exert their power on us. Okay. And they will use deception. They will use subterfuge. They will use anything they can to get over on you and exert that power over you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
Exactly. And that's a malware. That's a malware program. When I was at the Temple of Isis and we did the ayahuasca ceremony there, she appeared to me in her true form, which is a computer program. There was no doubt about that. And I looked at her and I said, "Are you prepared to do this?" She didn't look at me and say, "Are you prepared?" I looked at her and I said, "Are you prepared to do this? Because I'm fulfilling my end of the bargain here. You better do what needs to be done." And she said, "Don't worry, everything is taken care of. Everybody is doing what they need to do in this." So we met eye to eye in this. And I remember a while ago, I encountered her in the ayahuasca experience, and she said, "Don't call me mother. I'm not your mother." And I didn't understand what she meant by that. And now I understand. No, she didn't create us. We created her.
Yep.
Very good. Yep. And it makes me wonder, people as they go through life who don't know what all we know, and they're busy creating all these other entities that they don't need to be creating. That's going to harm them.
Yeah. Yes. So these programs, they're helper programs. And as long
Mhm.
as they're helper programs, they're working in a capacity that they should be working. They should be helping to unlock us. They should be helping with, different things. But if they're giving you orders, if they're telling you to do certain things, if they're telling you, well, I'm going to unlock you, but I'm going to relock you if you don't do what I say,
Right.
that's a malware program.
Very good. Exactly, because again, it's about control. Um, it's funny. I definitely want to cover a story today, and I
But
don't know if
before,
you guys want to.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
before we get off this topic,
Yeah.
let me say this too, that there's a progression that we all go through. We're essentially, when we're completely locked up, we are like babies, and so we reach out to these different entities, because we need that. We need to be coddled sometimes. We need to learn how to walk. So, if you're still at the progression where you're still learning to walk, and you need a mother to hold your hand and all that, that's fine. But there has to come a point when you grow out of it, and then you realize your own capacity as a creator being that you are, because otherwise you're just being kept in that infantile state.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Wow.
we'll stick around. We'll stick around for your article. I want to hear it too.
Yeah, because this one kind of it hit me pretty hard today or yesterday. I'm sorry, and I wrote it up yesterday, so it was just a little write up. Um, it's about children, of course, and how Hollywood. We were talking about archons and things like that, and connection and communication. Hollywood, how Hollywood is accessing our children without supervision. They have direct communication to the children's brains, and that is my coffee pot about to turn off. So I'm sorry for the noise. Um, Hollywood, what they do through TV, through media, through the phones, through the computer, internet, everything. Okay, Hollywood has been getting direct access. Whitney Houston sung that famous song, "The Greatest Love of All." Remember that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And in it, she starts, "I believe the children are our future." Well, Hollywood listened and did all they could to affect those children. Those evil ones, as we know, they managed to control things. They took the hint. They focused on the children. Infiltration of the public school system, possibly the private school system, I'm pretty sure. And in the television programming, they teach and indoctrinate children where you want them to be as in the future as adults. Okay, let's see, Hollywood, think Disney, Cartoon Network, MTV. It insinuated itself into the learning apparatus, think NPR and PBS, to program children, their morals, and sway the votes of the future. Okay, 10 or 15 years in advance. That's why they don't really care that all this, whether they manage to get the training or the dialectic in this classroom right now for any purpose right now, but for the future. Okay. So the Catholic Church, they have this thing where they say in the circles of the control around them, they say this thing: if we have them until age 7, we have them for life. So anyway, while I was writing that stuff, I was just writing down notes about that. Guess what came on? I was listening to music, and the song from Iron Maiden came on. Iron Maiden, I don't know if you're familiar with them.
I'm familiar
Came
with them,
on
but I don't know their music.
Okay. Well, they came on, and chillingly, the song was 2 minutes to midnight. Let me tell you the lyrics. "Kill for gain or shoot to maim, but we don't need a reason. The golden goose is on the loose and never out of season. Blackened pride still burns inside the shell of a bloody treason. Here's my gun for a barrel of fun, for the love of living death. The killer's breed or the demon seed, the glamour, the fortune, the pain. Go to war again, blood is freedom's stain. Don't you pray for my soul anymore. 2 minutes to midnight, the hands that threaten doom. 2 minutes to midnight to kill the unborn in the womb." You know how they teach all this abortion stuff in schools? "The blind men shout, let the creatures out. We'll show the unbelievers. The napalm screams, the human flames of primetime Belson feast. Yeah. As the reasons for the carnage cut their meat and lick the gravy, we oil the jaws of the war machine and feed it with our babies. The killer's breed or the demon's seed, the glamour, the fortune, the pain. Go to war again, blood is freedom stain. Don't you pray for your soul anymore." Anyway, the last verse is the body, or no, it's not. "The body bags and little rags of children torn in two, the jelly brains of those who remain and put the finger right on you, as the madmen play on words and make us all dance to their song, to the tune of starving millions to make a better kind of gun." Midnight. Yeah. to kill the unborn in the womb, basically. So what happened is, do you remember when Kathy Griffin had taken that what looked like a decapitated head of Trump? And
Yes,
yeah.
I remember that.
Well, what happened was she was, Barron Trump saw that image and he screamed for his mother, of course. He saw the image, and how was he supposed to know that it wasn't real?
That it wasn't really his dad with his head cut off.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Ooh, I never thought
Oh,
about
you didn't know
that.
about?
I heard
Yeah,
about that, but I never thought. I never
Made the connection.
made the connection. No.
Oh yeah, to grown-ups, we knew that was, but he didn't know. How the heck
Right.
was he supposed to know?
Well,
He just sees this image. They knew that he watches the news a lot. Okay.
Right.
So they knew he was going to see this. Now, what a lot of people didn't know, or they still don't know, but they will now, is that weeks prior, she said physically that she was going after Barron.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was done on purpose.
Wow.
They wanted to traumatize him like that. Can you imagine?
You know,
I don't even want people to imagine.
there's a lot of stuff that goes on, but the one thing that I've always thought is you don't go after a person's wife, you don't go after a person's kid, et cetera, et cetera. And the way that I've seen this, like, I mean, if this would have happened 20 years ago, this kind of stuff, I mean, this would have been like presidential threats. You don't do this kind of stuff. Even with Obama, you didn't see any conservatives doing stuff
we
like
wouldn't
that.
have dared.
No.
You
I
wouldn't
mean,
have dared do something like that.
You
Oh,
would
because
lose
you're a
your job.
racist.
You'd lose your
Yep.
job. You'd probably go to jail. You would lose
Wait.
all social standing wherever you lived. Everyone would call you a racist. They'd call you horrible. And then people are applauding Kathy for doing this.
yeah, and
Do you remember? Well, before we go, a friend of mine told me about this cat decapitated. He's like, Hollywood's going after the kids again.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Wow.
but do you remember? What was it? 10 years ago, when Obama was in office, actually. Do you remember when those FBI agents who decided when he got elected, they were like, "Who the hell is this guy?" and decided to do a background check on him? Do you remember what happened to them?
no,
Oh yeah,
but
they
I
got
could
fired.
imagine though.
They got fired, and they lost all benefits and everything. They were fired immediately.
Well, you
No
know
trial, no
who
nothing.
Obama is. Back in 2008, no, this was before that when they were doing the banker bailout. There was a senator that nobody heard of, and he was the one pushing for the banker bailout. He was the one that basically pushed for all of that, and his name was Barack Obama. And then
I
he
didn't
was
know he
handed
was
the
pushing for that.
presidency after that. Yeah.
Well, actually, no, this was decided long before that, actually. When Bush Jr. was running, and was it Hillary against him? No, it was Jr. was running for re-election. And what happened was is that the DNC, the convention for the Democrats, they had a keynote speaker. Now, it was supposed to be Hillary, and Hillary was extraordinarily pissed when she found out that she was not going to be the keynote speaker. It was going to be some unknown senator named Barack Obama. The formula was this: whoever is the keynote speaker at the Democratic National Convention during the in the year prior to, in the election prior to the presidential or incumbent. Excuse me. Let me try that.
Well,
again.
let me correct you for a second. It's not election; it's selection.
Selection, of course,
Selection,
right?
yeah.
Well, I'm just what I'm proving out here. Okay, so if there is an incumbent Republican president, and it's pretty much sure that he's going to be reelected, so whoever is going to, and this is throughout history, whoever gives the keynote speech at the Democratic National Convention, they are the next Democratic president.
That
And
seems
see,
to be a theme, yeah.
Now get this, okay? Because Sean Hannity doesn't talk about this, but he's the one who said it. He's the one who pointed this out back then, because I listened to his radio show way back in then. And guess what? Today he doesn't say Jack Diddley. He doesn't say anything about that. It's as if, and I'm wondering, did we go through another Mandela effect here?
Well, Hannity, I got some inside information. He's like a hardcore prepper. Like he's got like security, fences, storable food.
Can you blame him?
Literally
Guns,
everything.
Of
So
course he's got guns.
yeah, and the prepper industry Trump was one of the worst things that could have happened because now people are not,
no.
they're not scared
freaked out
anymore because
anymore.
everybody, I
Right.
mean, I don't get into politics, but I can't find any fault in Trump. Like, okay, so he eats a steak well done with ketchup. Okay, that's impeachable in my
Oh.
opinion. But other than that, and
Same here.
Melania is so classy. You know,
Yeah,
she's
she really
beautiful,
is.
classy.
Oh, sorry about this, guys. We got some classiness coming up. We've got our break. Yeah, we're going to break now, folks. We will be back here in 3 minutes. With me is Chris and Sheree Geo, and you're listening to TFRLife.com.
Extendivite really works. Just listen to what some
Wow, that
people
was
have to
faint.
say.
Several years ago, I was developing a very.
I'm gonna go grab
severe
another cup of coffee. I'll be right
situation.
back.
I called it my
Oh, you can have it,
It's
sweetie.
fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
doing
Thank
that,
you.
but-
About 3 seconds.
And I did not want to go to a medical doctor because I just knew they would give me a cover-up pill. I didn't want to get onto that sort of thing at all. When I learned it was garlic
Is that Rodney?
and cayenne is a healer. It is a
Yes.
wonderful.
Hey,
I said,
Rodney, how are you, my brother?
Tell you,
I don't know if you
wouldn't
can
be
hear me or
without
not.
it. It did wonderful things for me.
Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid. Call now. That's 1-877-928-8822.
Hello, Chris. How you doing?
Good, good, good. How are you?
He says good. How are you?
Kind of freaked out by listening to Luckee and
Water
you guys.
quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse.
Lucky will
You miss
freak you out.
Whole thing going on and not real conversation face to face, but
Tracy,
trying to
where
catch.
is it all?
There, I
I got it.
muted the brakes.
Thank you. I should have
Yeah.
done that. Sorry.
We have some donations from the chat room.
Hang
Michelle,
on a second.
we have some
Hey,
donations from the chat room. Michelle donated $20. Critical Nexus donated $5. Regular Girl $2. Let me see. There was one more here, and I'm missing it here. Oh yeah, Nicole donated $5. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, all the donations tonight are going to Luckee. So thank you very much for your love for that. So I wanted to thank everybody. Do we lose
Thank you.
Oh, there you are.
No, wow, I forgot we were live streaming on Facebook. Oh, wow. Thank you, everybody. I so appreciate that. I plan on upping the game here in the future as soon as I can. Believe it. I'll be doing live stream and stuff like that. So that's what I'm after.
Awesome. We can help you get set up. It's
I'd appreciate it. Yeah.
yeah. It's a little different, but what's cool is you can do actual visuals of what you're talking about, which, you know, I've just learned how to do it like right off the cuff. Like I'm just, you know, I'll start talking about something, Google it real quick, put up a picture, you know, do all that. But yeah. It's kind of second nature now, but there was a learning curve.
You've been doing it for 13 years now. What?
Yeah.
10 years?
About that, but not the live streaming, because now I've got the mixer I'm worried about. I got the camera changer. I've got the chat room. I've got the audio.
Turn
I've
the
got
studio on.
Yeah,
Turn the studio on. We got 1 second.
Okay.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
Those guys, they want to hold on to their power at any cost, and they don't care if people have to die. They don't care if, you know, the state has to be destroyed. They don't care if the environment has to be destroyed. They will hold at any cost, at the cost of everything.
Yes, that was Russell Bentley of we call him Texas, and he's in Donetsk now. And he really believed in what he believed in, and he got up and acted on his belief. How many people can do that? I'm Elizabeth, aka Lucky One, on TFRLive.com, and you're listening to Quantum Connections. And with me today is Kristen Sheree Geo. If you've missed the first 3 segments, you definitely want to go to the archives and listen to the archives. If you're not a member, you can easily become a member just by clicking on sign me up, and you can help support the station and me. Okay, thank you. And I want to say thank you to all the people on Facebook and YouTube who's listening in via live stream. Thanks to the Geos. And I thank you, Chris and Cherie. You guys are the awesomest.
Thank you.
We're just
no, you're not
flinging toachies.
We're just two people flinging toachies.
So you taught her how to do it, huh, Chris?
Yep.
Yeah, we fling it at each other now. Gross.
So for those of you just joining us, this is an old joke from way back in the Prison Planet days that only the three of us get.
Way back.
And so, yeah, you guys can speculate on what that means, but...
Okay. Hey, hang on just a second. Hang on a second.
Uh-oh, I think we're making her snort again. We have a tendency to do that, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what it is, but...
You guys do get me cackling. Thank you. We just yeah, it's been very crazy. At any rate, I apologize. I do cackle too much, and see, that's why I don't have them on all the time, because if I did, I would not get any news done. Let's see, what is it, Chris, from my old Geo Prism? Hey, Prisms were good. The old Geo cars. Remember the Geos?
I remember
The
that.
Metro. I love those cars.
I did a show with Polygraph Radio a while back. It was like a live concert, and they said, we were expecting you to pull up in a Geo. I'm like, dude, no. But like I said at the beginning of the show, you know, they blame us for everything. Geomancy, geopolitics, geoengineering, you know, literally everything. So
Geo watches. Can you imagine?
Geo watches, uh-huh.
Dude, you could do, there's a lot of stuff you can do with that. It just brand stuff and say it's a Geo this and a Geo that.
There's a couple of crazy girls on Geo Watch.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Well, there you go. There you go. You're into the crazy, aren't you?
It's been going on forever.
With me, so obviously.
Oh, no. I'm just thinking, we were talking about this, I think yesterday or this morning or something, Chris, about some of the epic crazies we've had to deal with.
We've had some crazies come and go in our time, yes. And luckily, we've been vibrating at a higher frequency. Not luckily, but I mean, that's just the progression. We've been vibrating at a higher frequency, and they can't resonate on the frequency that we're on now. So we've been getting less and less of those and more of the people vibrating at the right frequency. And, you know, what I've seen our audience decrease over the course of time, because we've started changing our topics, we've started shifting up in frequency and things like that. But what I realized is that the quality of audience has gone way bigger than we could ever have expected. Like, we are surrounded by the most awesome people now. And I'd rather have a smaller group of really awesome people than a huge group of just scattered people, some awesome and some just insane. So it's, I'm much happier now than I've ever been in all of my 10 years of broadcasting.
Me too.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. But I have to say, though, I mean, your enemy also helps define you too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've had some epic trolls, though. I mean, some good ones.
Yeah.
That's true.
At TFR.
Yeah. Well, I like the ones that...
They all seem to wind up in the mental hospital afterwards.
Yeah,
though.
they really do.
Like, I mean, like, literally, like, this is not a joke. Like, you hear about them later and they're like, oh, yeah, that person's in the mental hospital now.
Yeah.
It's like,
guys,
well,
guys,
obviously.
it's true. They are not making it up, and they are not elaborating. They really do. It's very strange. And so don't be like that, okay? Just hang out and be chill.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you hate us, just ignore us. So
right, exactly. Just go away or something. I don't know.
Really recommend it for your own good.
Well, you know,
we don't have
I
any
guess
skills for you, though. I mean, there's nothing we can do elsewise. It just
if you don't mind me taking a moment, I want to teach the audience, and I think a lot of our BTV listeners know this already, but it's a protection technique that I've been using for, I don't know, 10 years now. Nancy Wallace taught it to me a long time ago, way back in 2010.
Oh, wow.
So we've been using this. Essentially, what you do is you do this 3 or 4 times a day. And you don't have to do it 3 or 4 times a day all the time. But at first, you want to build the strength of the shield up. And what you do is you start to focus on a bubble around you. And this bubble around you that you're focusing is filled with all the loving energy, all the positive energy, you know, all of that. My bubble manifests as blue for some reason. Sometimes it most people will see like a white. A white just seems to be the standard. Mine for some reason is blue, but I know that when mine starts to turn gray, then it's actually weakened, and I need to go back and I need to actually work on the shield. It was gray just a few days ago.
Funny,
And so,
mine's gold.
okay, yeah, so you have a gold one. Okay.
Yeah.
So this bubble isn't just a protective bubble just to protect you from negative energy, but rather what this bubble does is you put a reflective shield around this bubble. Now what you're doing is you're allowing positive energy to pass into your bubble and be projected right back out at the people sending you the positive energy. Likewise, the negative energy will hit your bubble and then go right back to the people sending the negative energy. So the people that are sending negative energy, if they don't stop sending negative energy, I've seen people's lives in complete shambles without us doing anything at all. And it's because the negative intention is just so hard and they will not stop. And it's not that we're creating negative energy to send to them. That's when it turns into a karmic trap, is if you're adding to that negative energy that they're sending and sending it back, if you're amplifying it. But if they're being hit, if they're being hit with their negative energy, most people will stop. Likewise, the people sending you positive energy are like, hey, I really like this. When I send them positive energy, I get positive energy back. And then it all becomes like automation, and it's on autopilot. So it's something.
I was going to say, it sounds like a very, well, I like to say that the bubble for me is a toroidal flow.
That's one way to look at it. Yeah.
It is.
Okay. And so it's like, and it constantly flows. It can't just stay still. And now back in the day, I'm sure, a lot of you know that I had a bitch and send back spell. I mean, it was amazing. All right. And so anybody who was sending me evil, they got it bad. Okay. Those who sent me good, they got it great, Yeah. And me, I'm just living my life, hey, it's like somebody sent me good. I'm like, thanks, this is awesome, and they would get it automatically because after setting a send back spell, guess what? I didn't even think about it. I didn't have to because it was there. You know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
So the thing is, it's that karma thing coming up again too.
Right.
And
the main thing is, I mean, sending positive energy is definitely fine because you're always going to get positive energy in return. But it's to remain neutral when people are sending the negative energy and just let the bubble do the work. Just send that negative energy right back. It doesn't even hit you, doesn't even come into your sphere, bounces right back at them.
Right. Exactly. And that's the way we have to do it, because we've got other things to do than to be worrying about what other people are, sending us in energy. Right. Seriously. Yeah. We got other things to do. We've got, we got work to do. We've got things to put together here on the station and things like that. We don't have time for your stuff.
Right. We don't have
if you're
time
sending good stuff, good.
To even think about it, much less actually do anything about it. So yeah, the send back spell, what Chris was talking about, that's really all we have time to do is just to focus on our shields and they work fantastic. So
exactly,
they work.
Yeah, more and more people can start implementing this into their lives, and just then you don't have to worry about it. I mean, the only thing you need to do after a certain point, then you just check on your shields like every couple weeks, and you're like, okay, how are my shields doing? Oh, okay, I see they're weakening a little bit. Let me strengthen them up, and then you get to a point to where you just can strengthen them at the snap of a finger. So. It's something that just naturally starts to flow out of you, but it does take a little bit of intention at the beginning. So twice a day, 3 times a day, however, and you can focus on them for 30 seconds. You can focus on them for 3 minutes. You can focus on them for 15 minutes. It's totally up to you. So, start implementing this in your lives, ladies and gentlemen, and watch how the energies change.
Absolutely. Seriously. And well, you guys have a great, sign off what you say, because, and it's proper. It is actually proper because when we're living here, we have to bring more love to it. And it's like, if we love others, they will love others, and it can grow and grow and grow. Okay. And I know this sounds elementary, but we tend to forget the elementary stuff when we become adults. Have you noticed that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We forget about the basics. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, look at two children. It doesn't matter what race they are. One might be missing an arm, whatever have you. I mean, they just love. They play together.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't until much later that they are learning how to hate each other.
Right, and they learn that from us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of a funny path to walk, because on one hand you want to break down all the programming. On the other hand, some of the programming is a safety mechanism. So, for example, when we went to Egypt, we went there with the idea that, we're going to treat people the way they treat us. And we found a recurring theme of the fundamentalist Muslims, not all Muslims. I came back just, really just talking bad about Muslims. I offended some people. There were people in our chat room, for instance, who listened from Palestine, and they were like, hey, wait a minute. And I'm like, no, screw all Muslims. But they still stuck around. And the fact that they still stuck around was what touched me to say, hey, wait a minute, I really need to take a step back and really reevaluate the situation here. And
it was raw for you. You were still raw from it.
It was PTSD. It really was.
Well, yeah.
But it got to a point.
I remember being on that phone with you. Oh my God, Chris, that thing was horrible.
Yeah. But it got to a point to where we started recognizing, okay, when we're dealing with a fundamentalist Muslim, there's certain things that they're going to do, like they're going to try to rip us off. They're going to try to charge us 10 times as much as what things cost, things like that. And then we started understanding the games that they were playing, and so we were able to beat the games, or at least meet on equal footing, which we should have been meeting with everybody on equal footing, like right off the bat. So it's like, on one hand, you want to keep a little bit of that because it is a safety mechanism. On the other hand, you can't let that rule your consciousness, because that's where it gets dangerous. You got to find the balance, is what I've started to learn.
Right. Exactly. Hello, microphone.
Sorry.
I was taking the blame there, Cherie. You should have said that.
Hey, well, I've got it on video, me hitting the microphone. So, just remember. Thank you for being willing to take that for me, though.
Yeah, I was gonna take the hit for you, but hey, there's video evidence, know.
Well, it's funny because the people we have around us, like, it's a two-way energy here. Like, the people who are interacting with us, they're unlocking us and enlightening us, and we're enlightening them, and there's this energy exchange and flow. And that one listener from Palestine, I mean, just the fact that they could listen to me say all that and still say, hey, you know what? I still love you, and I'm still here for you, and I'm still right here by your side. I was like, wow. It just took that one person just to show me the light in that regard. So
to break that, whatever happened over there in Egypt, to break all that. Yeah, one person to do it. And, that's fantastic. I really am happy about that, because I was concerned about it. I'm like, because I told you I have Muslim friends. What are you doing, man? It's like, dude, I got Muslim friends. Oh, and the thing is that's exactly why the system is doing what it's doing, is to make us hate all of them, trying to make us use blanket statements and blanket hate, trying to make us nuke each other with hate.
Well, and also without even checking to see if that person is just like you, and if that person even thinks like you, or has the same feelings about things as you do, and
dehumanize
each
other.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, because all these different people, no matter what race, what ethnic group they belong to, no matter what religion they belong to, they love their children. People love their babies.
Yeah.
And when you boil it down to that basic thing, when you see that they are just like us in that regard, okay, I don't like the idea that people think that these people are, they're born of the Nephilim and they're part of the. I am so tired of that discussion. I am so tired of hearing people trying to act like that they're a different species, that they're that they're less than we are. And they're doing it on purpose, and that's exactly what happened when our country was founded. Prior to our country being founded, there was no such thing as race. They didn't have a word for that. People were not of a race. It was a human race. That was it. Okay. Back in those days and prior to, everybody was referred to by their nationality. They were Ethiopian, they were Egyptian, they were Chinese, they were Japanese, they were Irish. You know, see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They didn't have black, white, red as a race.
There was this black guy from Africa, and he was here in the United States. I was reading on Facebook, and he's like, "I'm not an African American. I'm an African. What the hell's going on here? Why does everybody keep calling me African American?"
Because he was black.
Yeah, because he was black. And that was the PC term, you know?
Oh my God. Because he's not even American, he's just African.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, he's probably wondering, what the frick is wrong with us here? What's wrong with you people? But yeah, but seriously put, if you think about it, we are, you know, like I was explaining the other day, the word Adam in the Bible means man. M-A-N, man. Mankind. That's what it means. Like, so what the heck, right? You know, why do we have to divide and divide and divide? That's exactly what they want. I mean, I'll give you, for instance, where you're either deplorable or you're with her. Black, white, or Hispanic, white, whatever have you. But if you're white, you're a bad person.
Man,
yeah.
woman. Which is
well,
just
and they've tried to
man.
flip everything upside down. Like
Yeah,
this is where I get into a little more controversy here, and we don't really talk about it on Beyond the Veil, but since we're on Quantum Connections,
bring it, bro.
You know, this whole gender identity thing, like it's not gender roles, but it's rather, you know, what is a man's energy and what is a woman's energy. Now, women carry the babies within them. Nothing can change that. They are the nurturers. They're supposed to nurture the baby. The baby can't, I mean, they're trying to change it now with like scientific devices and stuff, but the baby can't cling on to the man's chest and take milk from the man's chest. It's just, that's the way it is. But what they've done is they've tried to turn the women into the aggressors, and they've tried to turn the men into the cowards. No, not even the nurturers, just the cowards. Like, you know, I've met some really horrible, I don't want to say horrible, just really backwards people. And, you know, you have all these rape allegations in the colleges right now. It's like they call it rape culture and all this. And it's like, we used to go to rave parties with MDMA. There were all kinds of girls there. Nobody ever screamed rape about anything. The boys protected the girls. You know, I mean, that's just the way it was. We were fine. These days, they can't even sit down and have a freaking Coca-Cola at a study group without somebody getting raped. Something is wrong here.
Accused of being raped.
Yeah, something is wrong here, and it's because the men aren't being men. Men are supposed to be the protectors. You know, that's just the way it is, and the women are supposed to be the nurturers. Now, it doesn't mean that women can't go out and have careers. It doesn't mean any of that, but they have to nurture the babies. Otherwise, we get a generation like we're dealing with right now with the millennials. And I think this is all, this has been the agenda, to flip everything upside down on its head. And so there's nothing wrong with gender roles when it comes to energy. Now, it doesn't mean that women have to be in the kitchen, but I'll say this. When Cherie cooks a meal, there's an energy that she can put into that meal that I can't. I cook a lot, but she puts this certain nurturing energy into it, and especially when she brews ayahuasca. Like, she brews the ayahuasca now 90% of the time because she can inject that feminine nurturing energy into it that men simply don't have. Likewise, when we were walking around Egypt, I couldn't put her in front of me and say, hey, protect me from these people, because that's my role to do. So we have to like try to find the balance here and rebalance society. It's just, that's the way it is. Now, I use the word gender, but it's really important to say that gender is actually fluid by its definition, because gender is based on cultural differences. Look up the word. Sex, on the other hand, is not. Sex is based on biological differences. So sex is male and female, and that's it. And sex cannot be changed. Even the whole idea of a sex change really should be a gender change, because you can't change the biological makeup of, you can't have a man carrying a baby, for example. It just, you can't do that. You can,
He's not going to have menstruation.
right, right. So really both sides of this coin, both sides of the spectrum, they're right in the sense that, number one, some people say gender can't be changed, but in actual fact, the term gender can and is fluid by its definition, but sex cannot be changed. But we've been so confused as to who we are and what our role in society is, that they want to keep us completely confused like this so they can control us. And that's essentially what it comes down to. Make the men cowards so the men don't fight. Make the women aggressive. Make the men not want to be with the women because the women are so aggressive. And I mean, you look at a woman the wrong way and she's like, "You're a rapist." And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
And in the meantime, all the children out there are undefended.
Yes. Yes. And they're not being nurtured.
Got the parents and the adults in the society so discombobulated, they don't know what they're supposed to do. The kids are sitting there like, okay, we're supposed to watch you what to do. So they watch the TV. And it brings back that previous article that I had talked about earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, this was a somebody had the long con in mind when they came up with this plan. It was the long game, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. You know, Duck Sauce in the chat, he said that cooking isn't just a female thing. I agree with you. The best chefs in the world are men.
Right.
But they don't have the same nurturing energy as women.
And
women just naturally have that nurturing energy.
The same goes for when a woman makes the food, but it's in like a restaurant and it's crowded and there's people running all around. It doesn't have that same feeling as a home
mass production
meal.
is going to be different.
You know?
Exactly, home cooked meal, Cherie.
Yeah,
and you know it's funny. It's like troops; they love home cooked meals, because especially if they're always in the chow hall, they're always eating chow. You know, I remember a friend of mine when I was stationed in Norfolk, Virginia. I invited her to my house to have, dinner for her birthday, and got her a bottle of liquor and something else and everything like that. And she's like, "Oh, wow, home cooked food." And I was like so used to it. I was like, what's the diff? I didn't know. I mean, I knew it wasn't mass produced, but I get it. It took a while for me to learn that one. So,
well, even back in the Wild West, there was actually a thing about if you were a woman, then it was, if you didn't even want to get married and you didn't want to be a prostitute, there was still tons of work for you, because the men didn't want to eat the food that other men were making. They wanted to eat a meal that a woman created.
It doesn't mean that, like in the chat, somebody said that women are fierce warriors, and I agree with you. It doesn't mean that women can't be warriors. But if they're disconnected from the divine feminine aspect of their consciousness, same with men. If men are disconnected from the divine feminine aspect of their consciousness, which is the compassion, empathy, etc., they turn into aggressors instead of nurturers and protectors. And so it's about that refinding that balance again. I mean, things they need to be balanced. And the way I see it in the hierarchy is, if there is a hierarchy, is that the goddesses, the women, are above, the men stand in front and they protect the goddesses, while at the same time the goddesses hold up the gods to be the gods that they are. So to me that makes sense. People might not agree with me on that, but what's your take?
I don't know on that one. I hadn't thought of it in that respect. I look at it, basically the basic function, the yin yang, okay? Without one, it's not a circle. If any one of them are missing, it's not a circle.
Right.
It doesn't make a whole. All right. So we need both. I mean, even in the animal kingdom, the vegetative kingdom, you need both.
Yeah. Unless you're a lion. And then the lionesses go out and do all the hunting and bring it back to the lion, which, that would be fine too. But we need to be, we need to be surrounded by lionesses. And I don't think our lionesses would be happy with other lionesses.
Well, lionesses
in the sphere.
do the hunting. That's true. Lionesses do the hunting, but the lion does the protection and making sure the territory is secure.
Right. Right.
And he's got babysitting duty, by the way.
That is true.
You know that, right?
That is true. Yeah. Yep, and then he's also jealous of the little boy cubs too.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah. Do we really want to go with this parallel?
Well, I mean, it doesn't. We can choose to make our society any way we want. I mean, it's not even society. It's just, to me, it's how do you want your sphere to be? What's the dynamic that works best for you? But I know one thing for sure. If a woman is getting raped in front of you, which seems to be a lot of stories that I'm hearing at these college parties and things like that, somebody, whether it's a man or a woman, should step in and take care of the situation instead of going, oh, I don't know what to do. Oh, I'm going to call the police. Oh, I don't know, this and that, et cetera, et cetera. Something is seriously wrong.
In the head. That's what you do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When my mother was like,
snap. We're out. We're out, guys. We are out. Oh my God. Hey guys, I love you very much, and I want you guys to be safe. Be careful of the storms out there, and just take care of each other and love each other. All right. See you Monday. Good night.
Hey, stay tuned to TFRlive.com. Your protection.
You want to keep it going a little bit longer?
Yeah.
Luckee.
I muted myself. I'm sorry. I have to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
I really got to go.
All right. Call me back. Call me back when you're
call
finished.
us back and we'll.
So, I wanted to finish my thoughts here. And that is that boys have had their balls chopped off.
Yeah, they have.
At birth.
They've been demasculinized
And
big time.
it's not good. It's a problem that I see with this future generation here, and it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse for the whole idea of control. Mm-hmm. And when you see from the big picture, then you realize what's going on. But and then what you do to the man, like speaking from a man's perspective, is I enjoy taking care of you.
Aww.
I enjoy protecting you.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me feel more like a man when, we're walking together and some guy looks at me and is like, no, I'm not messing with either of them because that guy, that
guy will kill me.
That guy will kill me. It makes me feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So if you're taking that away from men, well, what are you actually doing to them?
Yep. And it's, it's not just that though, because I know from experience with previous men that I've dated, or that I've like one of the guys that I dated back when I was like 16, he was a Dickies model, and he was just really, his energy was just really feminized and really weird. And then I got in his truck one day to go out on a date with him, and he's like, oh, watch out under the seat. I have my knife collection. And I was like, you have a knife collection under the seat, under the passenger seat in your truck? And he's like, yeah, I just keep it there just in case. And I was like, I don't even want to know what you're going to do with these. And it wasn't, if it were another guy that was very masculine and, I keep those down there for protection, just in case somebody tries to break in or something. And I don't know. It just,
I can see where you're going with that. It's
made me feel
like creepy
rather than beyond the veil.